one understands the Chief Medical Officer and her team being cautious on approving a drug. There's a standard process by which drugs which are manufactured abroad can be imported into the country. And in this instance, and it takes a long time usually to comply with that. It's not a quick process. We are faced with a situation where this disease, COVID-19, which is mutating on an almost weekly basis, it seems, and producing variants which are more increasingly are more infectious, and in some instances maybe even more dangerous than the original disease that emerged towards the end of 2019. And there is really no drug on the market which has been developed to treat it. The remdesivir, which has been allowed into the country, is extremely expensive, was not developed for COVID-19, but it was considered to be a drug which could be efficacious in the treatment of COVID-19, and its importation has been facilitated, and it is available to physicians treating patients. Ivermectin is a much, much cheaper drug. In the markets where it's permitted for human use, I believe it's a few dollars per dose, literally a few US dollars per dose. It is a drug which has been available for anti-parasitic treatment for many, many years. It's not a new drug. And indeed, the person who developed it, I believe, won a Nobel Prize for having developed that drug. It is not toxic in the doses which it is generally being used at, where it is being allowed to be used. It is not toxic. So the risks inherent in allowing its use are not great. If you were to treat it, if you were going to use 100 times the dosage that's normally used for anti-parasitic treatment, yes, certainly, you'd be taking it way out of whack. But that is not how it is, its usage for COVID-19 is recommended. So what we're faced with is a situation where the disease continues to mutate. The deaths on a daily basis in Jamaica fluctuate. Today, what was published, there was 1 death. Yesterday, there were 14 deaths. And so we're not over this by any means. In the UK, which has achieved one of the highest levels of vaccination per person in the population, and had planned to reopen their society and economy in a couple of weeks, is now having to revisit that, because the Delta mutation, which was first identified in India, is replicating rapidly, especially in the north of England. Madam Speaker, what the opposition is recommending is that the physicians of the country who have patients who are very sick and need a drug that can save lives are empowered, not by a recommendation of the government. Government can and should, if they allow it, do so on terms which make it absolutely clear that they're not endorsing its use, that the WHO has not endorsed its use. Though I think the American authorities have said, from initially saying they were against it, are now saying they're neither for nor against it, which is a big step. Informed consent, where the patient is made aware of the risks and can choose to receive this treatment, and the physician who is treating the patient is empowered to prescribe it. I think that is the way we should be going, especially since it's not toxic, and the risks of not allowing it are huge if you are a person who has a bad case of COVID-19. It is in Jamaica now, you know. Ivermectin is in Jamaica. There's a black market for it, and a course of pills for a COVID patient is in the range of $50,000, which is not affordable for most Jamaicans. 70,000 now, that's where it's reached. Madam Speaker, that same course, were it allowed to come into the country through lawful channels, would be a fraction of that cost. So we are facing a situation where we have low levels of vaccination relative to other countries. We have a lot of vaccine hesitancy in the country, which we're not adequately addressing, so that we are nowhere near even double digits as a percentage of the population. We are an open society with visitors coming in here, and the Minister of Tourism has indicated how he's expecting the numbers to grow and more visitors to come in here. And we're having to, in order to encourage that, we're having to adjust the protocols and so on to enable that to happen. In that context, we are really gambling with lives if we take too conservative approach to allowing physicians to prescribe to patients who want the treatment, consent to the treatment, and who may die if they don't get the treatment, to deny them the opportunity to get it at an affordable cost. So I support the member for Central St. Mary in his call for the government to revisit this issue. I do not. As for Merck and their statement a couple months ago, this was a drug that they produced for a particular type of treatment, an antiparasitic. It is long out of patent now. They have no revenues from patent royalties from it. They want to make sure that if other persons are taking this for another purpose, for which there is no official endorsement by the WHO, they don't want to be sued because they have no upside and have a huge potential downside. We cannot look at Merck's statement as any credible source of decision-making over this particular drug. The fact of the matter is they have never made Ivermectin for COVID-19. Others in Australia, in India, and in many other countries, and indeed some of the leading physicians in Jamaica have been calling for its availability. I think that it is an unwise decision to be excessively conservative on this, because the risks involved are manageable. This is not a new drug. This is a well-established drug that has been used for decades by humans, and where the dosages are not going to be significantly different to the dosages that are prescribed for persons who are using it as an antiparasitic, which is the original reason why it was allowed on the market. Back in the 70s, I think, was when it originated. So, Madam Speaker, I support a more rational approach to this matter, because I know that the patients and the families of the patients who get this disease and who need a treatment and who are facing a situation where their loved one or themselves could die are going to expect that the government approaches this with a risk-reward analysis which is sound. Nothing in life is risk-free. It is always a question of weighing up the potential benefits against the potential risks. And in this particular instance, I think that the authorities thus far have got it wrong, and I would urge them to reconsider the matter. Thank you.